Welcome, Wapham crew. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, December 3rd, Monday, December 4th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I hope you guys have had an awesome weekend so far. I'm super excited that you could join me. We had a lineup earlier to do a Christmas fundraiser at a certain bar. It was supposed to be presented by Mad Hatter Project, as well as another project, but of course there was another branch in the spokes, so to speak. So perhaps we'll be able to do that on February 18th when they will be broadcasting again. But I was super excited to see what was going on there. Yeah, there were supposed to be all kinds of things, even a stand-up comedian. I was supposed to be there live like myself, but there was no internet connection there, so I was going to broadcast it from here, have Julia from Mad Hatter Project do the filming there, but like I said, we just had snag after snag, and so it is postponed. So it looks like you guys are stuck with me. So if you're listening live right now, you may be listening to us at KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. We're also live on eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio. We also have our friend Mr. Jonathan Alexander, and he is working on some stuff in the background there as far as getting us our own channel with over 50,000 viewers, supposedly. It's available to that many. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. But hey, we'll try our damnedest and see how it goes. So I'm your host, TessaTNT. We are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. If you like to watch the show as well as listen, you can check us out at YouTube under We Are Paradox Media, as well as Facebook under the same, and Twitch. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, just tune in to wherever you listen to your podcasts and look us up. We Are Paradox Media. If you can't find us under there, it is most likely We Are Paradox Media 101. So there is that. So yeah, tonight we're going to continue on with our book. It's by John Marlowe, and it's called The World's Most Evil Psychopaths, Horrifying True Cases. And there's some pictures. I believe this guy right here was a school shooter. That's Big Ed, I believe is his name. Like, so many different people in this book. And they seem to have started off like with early years as far as the beginning of psychopaths known of, like, that we found at that time and moving on. So we'll be doing this for the first 2 hours, and then for the third hour, of course, we will watch a creepy video together, which I really enjoy doing. It's fun. Let me check out my sound over here and make sure everything is measurable. No, I didn't say miserable. Okay, it still seems a little loud, so I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. That looks a lot better. Alrighty. Good to see you, Jay. And whoever we have over there on Twitch. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Burke and Hare. Never heard of these guys. There's actually a picture of them. As I said, we're going back quite a ways. That was 1829. Well over 100 years ago. So on 28 January 1829, the body of an executed prisoner, William Burke, was brought to the University of Edinburgh. It was studied and dissected under the eyes of medical students, professors, and interested members of the public. The prisoner's skeleton was removed, cleaned, and readied for display in the university's medical school. His skin was put to use in crafting of a variety of items, including the binding of a small book that remains to this day on display in the Surgeons' Hall Museum. Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh. It was a fitting end to one of the most notorious murderers in Scottish history. Born in 1792 within the parish of Ernie, County Tyrone, Ireland, Burke had spent 7 years in the militia, had married and fathered 2 children. In about 1817, he migrated to Scotland. Though he would claim that he wrote to his wife frequently, letters that were unanswered, it was likely that he abandoned the family. In Scotland, Burke led something of a transient existence, working as a baker, a cobbler, and a laborer. While working in the Union Canal, he met a woman who called herself Helen McDougall. This was not her legal name. Years earlier, she had separated from her husband and had taken up with a Sawyer, whose name she had adopted. Together they had 2 children, who Helen summarily abandoned when she and Burke ran off on a journey that would eventually lead them to Edinburgh. It's pretty sad. William Hare, too, had come to Scotland from Ireland. Like Burke, he had labored on the Union Canal, where he befriended a man named Logue. In 1822, after the project was completed, Hare found work loading and unloading canal boats. He became a tenant in Logue's squalid 7-bed Edinburgh lodging house, but the stay was short-lived. The 2 friends had a falling out, likely precipitated by the interest Hare was taking in Logue's wife, Margaret. When Logue died in 1826, Hare returned to the house and, after a brief competition with a rival lodger, was soon living as the common-law husband of the widow. In 1827, William Burke and Helen McDougall, I almost said Henry, had established themselves as regular tenants in the lodging house run by William Hare and Margaret Logue. Though it would be incorrect to describe the 2 couples as friends, they were united by common interests, whiskey and money, both of which, it seemed, they were forever lacking. This would change in November 1827, when a tenant known as Old Donald, an army pensioner, died of a dropsy, which is bodily distemper, owing £4 rent. Annoyed by the debt, Hare enlisted Burke's help in stealing the body from its coffin and replacing it with an equal weight of tanner's bark. A man familiar with the less respectable side of Edinburgh, Hare knew that Old Donald's body would be of some value to the city school of medicine. After dark, they recovered the body from its hiding place and carried it in a sack to an anatomy. What the heck? Anatomy school at number 10 Surgeon Square. There it was received by 3 assistants of Dr. Robert Knox, one of the foremost professors of anatomy in Scotland. For their troubles, Burke and Hare received £7. Tins, nearly £3 below market value. Still, it was a significant sum, and the pair were elated to have made such a gain with so little effort. Not long after, another tenant, a miller named Joseph, developed a high fever and became delirious. Okay, so before I move on, there's a picture here of Edinburgh's graveyards offered a ready supply of bodies to sell to the anatomists. But I keep wanting to say autonomous. But it was hard work digging at midnight, and you might be caught in the act. Burke and Hare soon worked out a better way of acquiring corpses. These are fresher, you're gonna want these. But I thought that was a pretty cool picture. I like it. Fearing news of Joseph's illness would affect business, Hare grew concerned, but it wasn't long before he turned the situation to his advantage. He summoned Burke to Joseph's bedside. There, the pair determined that the miller was most certainly going to die of fever. They applied Joseph with drink, after which Burke suffocated the man with his pillow. That evening, they took the body to Dr. Knox's lecture rooms. The winter passed, and with it, the 10 pounds Burke and Hare had been given for the body of Joseph the miller. By February 1828, the pair were again looking to supplement their incomes through the good graces of Dr. Knox. However, despite Edinburgh's dire problems with sanitation and the miserable winter weather, all appeared healthy at the lodging house. The pair looked outside their door, figured that no one was likely to miss those who considered the street their home. Their next victim was Abigail Simpson, an impoverished and elderly former employee of Sir John Hope, who had traveled by foot to Edinburgh in the order to collect her pension, 18 pence and a can of broth. That's pretty good pay. She was on her way back home when she met Hare, who invited her to the lodging house for a small drink. It is probable that Burke and Hare intended to kill Abigail that evening, but became too drunk to carry out the plan. She, too, was drunk and ended up staying the night. Upon awakening the next morning, she began a new round of drinking. Burke and Hare took pains to remain sober, and when Abigail fell asleep, they smothered her. Seems like their key route of doing this. That evening, the occasion of their third visit to number 10 Surgeon Square, the pair met Dr. Knox for the first time. The professor was pleased with the corpse and authorized a payment of 10 pounds. As would become the routine, the profit was split 3 ways. 4 pounds went to Burke, 5 went to Hare, and 1 was given to Margaret Logue as the owner of the lodging house that was proving so useful. Over the next 6 months, Dr. Knox would see a lot of Burke and Hare, as the pair murdered with greater frequency. They charitably put an end to the life of a tenant suffering from poor health. They suffocated an old woman Margaret had encountered in the street and had brought back to the lodging house. In April, Burke brought 2 teenage prostitutes to his brother's modest home, one of whom he and Hare killed after the other had left the house. Afterwards, the 2 men dared to carry the body in a sack through the Edinburgh afternoon. A group of schoolboys taunted them, chanting, "They're carrying a corpse," but they were not caught. It seems that for the first time in their lives, Burke and Hare had money, and yet it wasn't enough. They drank more and spent freely. This newfound wealth did not go unnoticed by their neighbors, to whom Burke, Hare, and their common-law wives offered a variety of explanations, including Helen's rather improbable tale that her man served as a gigolo for a wealthy woman in the new town. Go, boy! The close call they had experienced in transporting the prostitute's corpse to Dr. Knox did nothing to slow down the murderers. Indeed, it might be said that the pair had been emboldened by the experience. One morning, shortly after murdering a beggar woman named Effie, whom Burke had known through his work as a cobbler, he encountered 2 policemen escorting a drunken woman they'd found in a stairwell. Boldly, he approached the 2 men and offered to take the woman to her lodgings. The offer was accepted, and before the day was through, her corpse was lying in Dr. Knox's lecture hall. That is so strange. Come on over, why don't you have, a little nip of this whiskey, and then how about you take a nap and we'll take really good care of you. The next 2 victims were an elderly woman and her deaf grandson, after which Burke took a holiday, spending midsummer with Helen's relatives. Upon his return, he became suspicious that his partner had continued the lucrative business without him. An inquiry at Dr. Knox's school revealed that Hare had indeed sold the body of a woman in his absence. Although Burke and Helen left the lodging house in anger, it wasn't long before the men resumed their trade. The next victim was a Mrs. Ulster, whom Burke lured into the lodging house during the celebration of a neighbor's newborn child. Mrs. Ulster's murder was soon followed by that of Helen's cousin, Anne McDougall, whom Burke had met earlier that summer and had invited to visit the couple in Edinburgh. Next, Hare picked up an elderly prostitute named Mary Haldane. She was summarily murdered. followed by Peggy, her daughter, who had confronted Hare as to her mother's whereabouts. So they have a sketch here of Mr. Dr. Knox, the physician, who did not ask too many questions about where his corpses were coming from. I don't know if you guys heard about Benjamin Franklin. Some people were saying he was a serial killer. There was all kinds of bodies found in his basement, but supposedly those were brought to him just like they were to Dr. Knox to learn more about the human body. But here is a picture of Dr. Knox. The decision to murder Mary Haldane was yet another indication of the brazen attitude the two men had developed. Past victims had been loners, most often people whose disappearance would have gone unnoticed, but Mary Haldane had been a well-known character. Her sudden departure from the streets of Edinburgh was the subject of some talk. The fact that her daughter was also missing added greatly to the mystery. Burke and Hare's next victim, a mentally handicapped young man named Jamie Wilson, or Daft Jamie, was not only well known but well loved. When his corpse was brought into Dr. Knox's lecture room, several students recognized it as Jamie. For his part, the professor denied that it was Daft Jamie laid out on the table, yet went to work immediately in dissecting the body laid out before him. By Halloween 1828, Burke and Hare's luck had all but run out, but they would still manage one final murder. The victim was an Irish woman named Mary Doherty? It's Docherty. I think it's Doherty. I think the CH is silent. Or is it Docherty? I don't know. Whom Burke invited to the lodging house by claiming some family connection. Her body was discovered the next evening by Anne Gray, one of Margaret's tenants. As Gray and her husband ran for the police, Burke and Hare disposed of the body through their usual method. They delivered the corpse to Dr. Knox's premises, where it was discovered the next day by the authorities. I'm sorry, there's like a cat here or something that's tickling me. Avoiding the news. Burke, Hare, Helen, and Margaret were all arrested. As the evidence was thought to be thin, Hare was offered immunity from prosecution, so long as he testified against his business partner. His testimony led to Burke's death sentence. Helen, his common-law wife, was released. Her complicity in the murders could not be proven. Returning to their home, she was almost lynched by an angry mob. She is thought to have fled first to England, then to Australia. Margaret too escaped the news and was rumored to have settled in Ireland. In February 1829, Hare was released. There were various stories concerning his fate, that he became a blind beggar on the streets of London, or that he was thrown into a lime pit, but nothing is certain. Dr. Knox remained silent about his dealings with Burke and Hare. For several years, he continued his teaching, seemingly unaffected by public suspicion. Gradually, however, the consequences of his association with Burke and Hare became apparent. His student numbers dwindled. He was twice rejected by the University of Edinburgh, and a brief stint at the Argyll Square Medical School proved not to be a success. He relocated to nearby Glasgow, then London, where he obtained a secure position with the Cancer Hospital. Dr. Knox died 1862. During the last decade of his life, however, he achieved a certain degree of success as the author of Fish and Fishing in the Lone Glens of Scotland, and a manual of artistic anatomy, which he described as being for the use of sculptors, painters, and amateurs. So there's another picture here. Edinburgh's citizens queued up to witness Burke's demise. See, that used to be, hey, beautiful Sister Sandra, you know, kind of like football these days. Everybody would go to watch when somebody was hanged or whatnot. Grab the kids, there's gonna be a hanging. Ooh. Victorian nightmares. Look at this. The reign of Queen Victoria saw great advances in science and policing, which enabled the detection of crimes that would have gone unnoticed at one time. Improvements in printing combined with the advent of the telegraph and stenography ensured that news was captured and spread at a previously unimaginable speed. The popular press was in its ascendancy and used much of its power to bring lurid stories of murder and sadism to the masses. That just reminds me of the internet. Like, look at how fast things are spread as far as news. Generally, what used to be local news is now everywhere. And then going back to this last case of these guys, Burke and Hare, getting rid of homeless people. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen, but in California and I believe Florida, I believe it was Florida too. But people have been going out and like serial killing homeless people. And generally it's people that are alone and not with a mass of people. So that's pretty scary. It's like these guys are already going through enough. Like, why? It's not cool. But they finally caught the guy from LA, I believe. This is a story about Marianne Cotton. So Marianne Cotton was the most prolific serial killer in Victorian England. Oh. Dang it. Yeah, Julia was just messaging me. So, like I said, we were supposed to do a fundraiser that was like a drag show and then a comedian and then a twerking contest and all kinds of things to raise funds for, I think 3 different places. And, yeah, like I said, there was a stick in the spokes, and she just finally found somebody to do it, but we're already doing this, so. Oh, man. Okay, let me just get back to her really quick and let her know we're doing a show. Sorry, guys. Dang it. Sorry. I have already erased the other our StreamYard. Dang it. I wish I could have been there live, because I really just love the energy of being out there, as long as nobody's bothering me. But yeah. And it was funny because, like, I was thinking, you know, this is gonna start at 4:30, then we planned on 5, and then it was like 6, and I was like, forget about it. Like, we gotta move on. When does the comedy start? And Julia's gonna be the stand-up comedian. Perhaps we can do it the second hour. But yeah, it would have been funny to watch the twerking contest. Hey, Adrian. Okay, sorry. I'm just getting back to Julia really quick so she doesn't think I'm ignoring her, because I'm not. I promise. I promise I'm not. I'm just reading. Oops. Okay, so Marianne Cotton was the most prolific serial killer in Victorian England. Among her victims were her mother, a lover, a friend, 3 husbands, and numerous stepchildren. It is thought that she killed 10 of her own children. That is crazy. Good to see you, Adrian. Yo, Adrian! Her life began in Dickensian surroundings. She was born Mary Ann Robson in October 1832 within Low Morsley, a small village located not too far from the city of Sunderland in northeast England. consisting of herself, 2 younger siblings, and Mary Ann's parents. Hey, Mr. Morris, good to see you. The Robson family was not a large one. However, her father, a miner, seems to have been forever struggling to make ends meet. His life above ground was devoted to his 2 beliefs, Methodism and the idea that children must be raised with a firm hand. So I wonder if Methodism is referring to the Methodist Church. I used to do Sunday school for them because my boss was a part of that church, and so we'd go from work and go do that, and it was really enjoyable, but I always thought it was funny because the fold-up chairs always said meth church, and I just found that humorous. I have a sick sense of humor. Okay. So when Mary Ann was 8, her father moved the family to nearby Merton, where he was employed by the South Hetton Coal Company. Any advancement the family had hoped to make through the relocation soon vanished after he fell 45 meters to his death down a mine shaft. That's bad. 6 years later, in 1846, Mary Ann's mother remarried. Although her stepfather had none of the financial worries that had plagued her father, the 2 men had at least one thing in common: the belief in strict discipline. At 16, Mary Ann escaped the family home by obtaining a position as a private nurse. She returned to her mother and stepfather 3 years later, but only for a brief period. Within months, a pregnant Mary Ann married William Mowbray, a laborer, and left the family home for good. The young couple lived in a somewhat transient lifestyle as Mowbray pursued work in the mines and in the railway construction. Ultimately, they ended up where they had begun, in Sunderland, where Mowbray found work first as a foreman with the South Hetton Coal Company, then as a fireman aboard the steamer Newburn. In January 1865, Mowbray died of what was described as an intestinal disorder. Mary Ann received an insurance payment of £35 on his life. Wishing to express his condolences, the attending doctor revisited the house, surprising the widow, who was dancing around the room in an expensive new dress. What a hag! So over here we have a picture that shows Mary Ann Cotton's father as a miner. His life above ground was devoted to 2 belief systems, Methodism, and there's a meeting here as the picture shows above, and the conviction that children must be raised with a firm hand. Hey, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child, so they say. But yeah, I believe that is a Methodist meeting there. That's interesting. Look at that pulpit. During their 13-year marriage, Mary Ann and William Mowbray had had 9 children, only 2 of whom were still alive when their father died. After Mowbray's death, Mary Ann moved 8 kilometers south to Seaham Harbor. She began a relationship with Joseph Natras, a man who was engaged to another woman. It was at this point that one of her 2 remaining children, a 3-year-old girl, died. After Natras married, Mary Ann returned to Sunderland with Isabella, her only surviving child. The girl was sent to live with her grandmother, and Mary Ann found employment with the Sunderland Infirmary House of Recovery for the cure of contagious fever, Dispensary and Humane Society. While working there, she met an engineer named George Ward, who was suffering from a fever. His recovery was swift. Ward was discharged, and in 1865, August, the 2 married. However, his ill health returned soon after the wedding. During much of the marriage, he suffered from lingering illness. Symptoms included paralysis and chronic stomach problems. When Ward died in October 1866, Mary Ann accused her late husband's doctor of malpractice. When you know it was her, she's poisoning everybody. As she had immediately after the death of her husband, Mary Ann again left Sunderland. She settled in Palion, where she was hired by a man named James Robinson, a shipwright. Robinson had also recently lost a spouse and was in need of a housekeeper to look after his 5 children. But in December 1866, tragedy struck again. and the Robinson household when the youngest child died suddenly of gastric fever. Meanwhile, Marianne, it seems, provided something more than sympathy for her new employer. She was soon with child. Early in the new year, Marianne received news that her mother had been taken ill. She made the trek back to Sunderland, arriving to find that her mother had all but recovered her health. Yet 9 days later, she was dead. With Isabella in tow, Marianne returned to her employer. Soon after their arrival, the girl began complaining of stomach pains, as did 2 of the Robinson children. By the end of April, all 3 were dead. It can be said with some certainty that Robinson initially made no connection between the rash of deaths and his new housekeeper. For in August 1867, the 2 were married. The child Marianne was carrying, a daughter, the name Mary Isabella, was born in late November. She lived only for 3 months. The death of Mary Isabella proved to be the saddest event in a disastrous marriage. Although the couple would have 1 more child, the relationship deteriorated rapidly. Robinson soon came to the realization that his wife was running up debts without his knowledge, and had stolen money he had asked her to deposit in the bank. After valuables began disappearing from the house, he confronted his children and was told that their stepmother had forced them to pawn the items. In late 1865, 2 years after they'd married, Marianne's husband threw her out of the house. By the beginning of 1870, Mary Ann had been reduced to living on the streets. Her luck began to change when a friend, Margaret Cotton, introduced Mary Ann to her brother, Frederick. As in the case of Robinson, Frederick Cotton had been recently widowed. He'd also suffered through the deaths of 2 of his 4 children. Within a few months of meeting Mary Ann, he buried another child who died of an apparent stomach ailment. Not long into the grieving process, Mary Ann became pregnant with Cotton's child. Early in the pregnancy, Margaret Cotton died of an ailment similar to that which had taken the life of her young nephew. Although Mary Ann was still married to Robinson, a secret she kept from the expectant father, she and Cotton were married in September 1870. Shortly after the birth of her 11th child, a boy named Robert, Mary Ann heard news of Joseph Natras, her former lover. No longer married, Natras was living in the village of West Auckland, a little over 60 kilometers to the south. Not only did Mary Ann move quickly to resume the relationship, she somehow succeeded in convincing her husband to relocate the family closer to where Natras lived. 2 days after his first wedding anniversary, Cotton died from gastric fever. Well, isn't that convenient? That's so weird. Shortly after her husband's death, Mary Ann welcomed Natras into her home as a lodger. Although she had received a substantial payment owing from Cotton's life insurance policy, she went to work as a nurse for John Quick Manning, an excise officer who was recovering from smallpox. She soon became pregnant by him. Between 10 March and the 1st of April, death visited the Cotton home on 3 separate occasions. The first to die was Frederick Cotton, Jr. His death was followed by Robert, the child of Mary Ann and her late husband. Before the infant could be buried, Joseph Natras also died, but only after rewriting his will so that all would be left to Mary Ann. Go figure. Once again pregnant, this time with Quick Manning's child, Mary Ann's thoughts turned to marriage. It would appear that to her, thinking only one obstacle remained, Charles, the surviving Cotton child. Mary Ann had hoped that he might be sent to a workhouse, but was told by Thomas Riley, a minor parish official, that she would be obliged to accompany him. After declining, she informed Riley that Charles was sickly, adding, "I won't be troubled long. He'll go like all the rest of the Cottons." Riley, who had always seen the boy healthy, thought the statement peculiar. When Charles Cotton died 5 days later, he visited the village authorities and urged an investigation. An inquest held the following Saturday determined that Charles had indeed died of natural causes. Mary Ann's story that Riley had made the accusation because she had spurred his advances would very likely have affected his position as well as his reputation, had it not been for the local press. So, yeah, there's a picture where Mary Ann Cotton became housekeeper, and then Mary Ann Cotton buried 3 husbands, a prospective sister-in-law, a paramour, her mother, and no fewer than 12 children. So here's a little drawing of what that evil bitch looked like. What the heck? Reporters looking into Mary Ann's story discovered that she had buried 3 husbands, a paramour, her mother, and no fewer than 12 children, nearly all of whom had died of stomach ailments. The revelations caused the doctor who had attended Charles to reopen his investigation. He soon discovered traces of arsenic in the small samples he'd kept from the boy's stomach. Mary Ann was arrested, and the body of Charles Cotton was exhumed. After another 6 corpses were dug up and failed attempts to locate the body of Joseph Natras, it was decided that she would stand trial for the murder of Charles alone. Proceedings were delayed a few months until the delivery of baby fathered by Quick Manning. Right? She looks ugly and crazy. Like, how'd she get all those mans? During the trial, Mary Ann attempted to explain Charles's death by saying that he had inhaled arsenic contained in the dye of the wallpaper of the Cotton home. The theory was dismissed, and she was sentenced to death. Like, if you inhale it, I guess, from swallowing or whatever, you could get it into your stomach, but not at that amount. Nice try! So on 24 March 1873, Mary Ann Cotton was hanged at Durham County Gaol. Her death was long and painful, the result of an elderly hangman having miscalculated the required drop. Oops. Aw. Well, I do, and whatever. Mark Zuckerberg sucks. Alright, the next chapter is called The Bloody Benders. In Kansas, the Bender family is legendary, and as with all legends, it is difficult to determine the difference between truth and embellishment. However, one claim that can be made with some certainty is that they were the first known serial killers operating in the United States. Ooh, I think I remember this story. I think I saw it on a show on Discovery Channel or History Channel. One of those. This family was messed up. Late in 1870, the Bender men arrived in Osage Township in the southeastern part of Kansas. Like nearly all settlers, they came from the east, but exactly where from has always been something of a mystery. Uh-oh. Freaking Facebook narcs. Sorry. The assumption is that they were German. The patriarch, a giant of a man named John Bender Sr., barely spoke. His vocabulary seemed to consist of little more than muttering curses. His son, John Jr., was easily the more sociable of the two. Though he spoke with a German accent, he was fluent in English and given to laughter. The two spent the remainder of 1870 and nearly all of the following year preparing their land and constructing a cabin and a barn, several kilometers south of the town of Cherryville. In the autumn, they brought Ma Bender and her daughter Kate to the new homestead. They used large pieces of canvas to divide their cabin in half. The back became the family home, while the other half was set up as a general store and inn offering lodging to weary travelers who passed along the Osage Trail. It was a good location, providing a tempting, if modest place to stop for many lone men traveling from the east to a new life in the west. Over the months that followed, people started going missing from along the Osage Trail. In a time of erratic and unreliable mail service, the disappearances weren't noticed at first. It was only over time, when the names of the missing had begun to accumulate, that suspicions began to be aroused. In neighboring communities, rumor and speculation began to circulate among the missing as well as known physician William H. York, who had disappeared in March 1873 while traveling the 160-kilometer route from Fort Scott to Independence, Kansas. Not long after the doctor's disappearance, the township decided that all farms in the area would be searched for evidence. 3 days later, a local farmer noticed the Bender livestock roaming, obviously in need of nourishment. Further investigation revealed that the inn had been abandoned. Nearly all possessions had been removed. The cabin itself contained a foul stench that was later found to be emanating from a trapdoor in the floor, beneath which was a pool of clotted blood. Ew. Excavation of the apple orchard next to the cabin revealed 10 bodies, including that of York. The doctor had been bludgeoned from behind and had his throat cut. 8 other victims had been killed in the same manner. The sole exception was an 18-month-old girl who appeared to have been buried alive beneath her father's naked corpse. That is so sad. See, I'm telling you, this family is messed up. Dismembered parts of other victims were also found buried on the property. It was impossible to tell with any certainty exactly how many people the blood benders had claimed. Or I think they call it bloody benders. The Benders were never seen again. They appeared to simply vanish into the Kansas landscape, leaving questions that have been answered by little more than speculation and fancy. Among the more likely of the stories concerned the Bender daughter, remembered as a voluptuous beauty. Kate, it is claimed, was one of the reasons travelers found the inn such an attractive place to spend the night. So here's a picture drawn out that was probably put in, on some flyer or local paper. The settlers buried their loved ones. A hue and cry ensued as many went off in search of the Benders. They were nowhere to be found. All traces had disappeared in the vast Kansas landscape, leaving many unanswered questions. Like anytime driving through Oklahoma or Kansas, that place is so flat. But there's that picture. Back in my day. Bloody Benders. Some stories tell of her performing throughout the region as Professor Miss Kate Bender, a psychic medium. Others depict her as a spiritualist who would perform a seance during which the unlucky traveler would be struck on the head through the canvas curtain dividing the cabin. In fact, the canvas that divided the cabin in two always plays a role in the Bender legend. Although no one saw the family in action and lived to tell about it, their routine is described without variation. First, the unsuspecting guest would be struck through the curtain. The victim would then be dragged into the other half of the cabin, where he would be stripped of clothing and valuables. In the final step, the unlucky traveler would be thrown down the trapdoor to the cellar, where his throat would be cut. The legends concerning the Bender clan extend as far as their respective fates. Several posses were formed to pursue the murderous family, including one that numbered among its members Charles Ingalls, father of Little House on the Prairie. What? Author Laura Ingalls Wilder. I didn't know Charles Ingalls was a real person. I used to love that show when I was a kid. In her memoirs, Wilder writes of her belief that her father's posse caught the Benders and dealt with them in a manner typical of the American frontier. A number of different posses claimed that they had brought the Benders to justice, leaving open the intriguing possibility that several innocent people were killed by what amounted to little more than lynch mobs. Dead babies. It has been said that John Bender Sr. ran off with all the money stolen from the victims, leaving the rest of the family penniless. One version of the legend has it that he committed suicide in Lake Michigan shortly after having been confronted by Ma and Kate. A particularly gruesome story asserts that Kate and John Jr. were not sister and brother, rather that they were lovers. According to this version of the Bender legend, the two had many babies together, each of which they disposed of with a hammer to the head. These killings presumably gave the couple practice for future dealings with those traveling the Osage Trail. It has been said that they fled first by train, then by horse into either Texas or Mexico, where John Jr. died of a hemorrhage. Or could it be hemorrhage? I'm just kidding. In his 1913 book, The Benders of Kansas, Minnesota defense attorney John Towner James maintains that in 1889, Ma and Kate were captured in Michigan and brought to Kansas. According to James, the two women were to be tried of York's murder, but were let go when the trial date was postponed from February 1890 to May 1890. The story here is that the county didn't want to expensive lodging the prisoners for an extra 3 months. As would be expected of a story in which imagination was replaced fact, the land once occupied by the Benders is said to be haunted by the ghosts of their victims. Well, I would imagine so. Yeah, I think, before we start this one, the next one is the Servant Girl Annihilator. I guess we can get through this, and then we'll go to music break, and then we'll continue on with Jack the Ripper. The Servant Girl Annihilator. The American writer O. Henry is perhaps best remembered today for The Gift of the Magi, a Christmas tale featuring Jim and Della, a young couple with no money, as the holiday approaches. Della sells her long tresses to a wig maker so that she might buy a platinum chain for Jim's watch. Meanwhile, Jim sells his watch and uses the money he receives to buy a set of jeweled combs for Della's hair. The moral is difficult to miss. Material possessions, whether bejeweled or made from platinum, are of little value when compared to love. It is a heartwarming, sentimental story, typical of the author's work. How odd, then, that this very same man was the distinction of having provided a nickname for one of the first American serial killers, the Servant Girl Annihilator. O. Henry's epitaph, or epithet, provided to friends working at the Austin Daily Statesman, was one of several used to describe the murderer who terrorized Texas between 1884 and 1885. Another name was the Austin Axe Murderer. Neither was entirely apt, but both continue to be used to this day for a killer who was never caught. The Servant Girl Annihilator began his bloody work on the cold New Year's Eve of 1884. His first victim, a 25-year-old live-in Negro servant named Molly Smith, was found next to the outhouse of the home in which she was employed. Wearing only a nightdress, she had been R-worded and bludgeoned to death. The murder weapon, an axe covered in Molly's blood, was discovered inside the outhouse. No one in the house proper had heard anything. Indeed, all had appeared peaceful until Walter Spencer, Smith's common-law husband, had awoken from his usual night's sleep in great pain. He discovered a deep cut across his face. The bedroom he and Molly shared was in bloody disarray, and his wife was gone. Spencer's cries for help awoke the rest of the house. In the early morning hours, the local marshal led a pack of bloodhounds through the snow-covered streets of Austin. It was a horrible way to usher in the new year. Though Austin was then a small city, fewer than 25,000 lived within its limits, murder was not entirely unknown there. Still, the savagery displayed in Molly Smith's death was big news indeed. Suspicion settled quickly on Smith's former lover, a black man named William Brooks. An all-white coroner's jury ignored Brooks' alibi and witnesses, including that he was probably guilty of the crime. Eventually, the ex-boyfriend was released due to lack of evidence. 5 months later, on 6th of May, another black woman, Eliza Shelley, was murdered. A 30-year-old cook, Shelley lived with her 3 children in a cabin on the property of her employer, L.B. Johnson. It was Johnson's wife who, hearing Shelley's screams, sent her niece to check on the children. The girl found the family cook lying dead on the cabin floor, her skull very nearly split in two. Shelley's nightgown was raised, exposing most of her body. Bloody footprints of a barefooted man trailed from the awful scene. This time there had been a witness. The victim's 8-year-old son spoke of seeing a man enter the cabin. This unknown figure pushed the boy away and threw a blanket over him. Falling asleep, he'd see nothing further, and had even slept through his mother's scream. Upon waking the next morning, he was blissfully unaware of her fate. So here's a picture. There can be little doubt that in the midst of all this horror, some residents of Austin took comfort in the knowledge that all the Annihilator's victims had been black and were either servants or their close relatives. So there they are, playing some music there. And in this picture, black servants were on the lookout for an assailant who sought access to servant quarters before R-wording and killing his victims. So there's another picture. False leads. Again, the authorities cast around for suspects. A mentally handicapped 19-year-old was arrested, seemingly for no other reason than that he had no shoes. When his feet were measured and shown to be of a different size to those of the killer, he was released. An acquaintance of the Shelleys was also held for no other reason than that the two had been seen arguing. The murderer struck again 17 days later. The victim, Irene Cross, was yet another black female servant. This time, it seemed, there had been no axe. It appeared that she had been stabbed in the head. One arm was almost severed from the rest of the body. In this case, the authorities arrested no one. In August, the murderer entered the cottage of Rebecca Ramey, just 1 block south of where Eliza Shelley had been murdered 3 months earlier. Approaching her bed, he knocked her out and then abducted her daughter Mary. The 11-year-old was taken outside, R-worded, and murdered. Again, there was no axe. The girl was stabbed through both ears with an iron rod. When she regained consciousness, Rebecca Ramey, a black servant of a man named Valentine Weed, remembered nothing of use. The following month, the killer gained entrance to a servant's cabin behind the house of Major W.D. Dunham by climbing through a window. Stories about the night in question are varied and confused, but all agree that the first to be attacked was a man named Orange Washington, whose skull was caved in by a blow from an axe. Washington's common-law wife, Gracie Vance, was dragged out of the cabin and R-worded outside. Her friend, a visiting servant named Lucinda Bobby, received an axe blow to her head and was also R-worded. The assaults ended when Major Dunham realized the noises were something much more than a domestic dispute, as he'd initially thought. Gun in hand, the major rushed outside and the murderer fled. Gracie's body was found in the stables. Her head had been beaten in with a brick. In one hand, she clutched a gold watch, presumably torn from the killer during the struggle. Also present was an unidentified horse saddled and tied. Both appeared to be excellent clues as to the identity of the assailant, and yet they proved to be of no use. After detectives were brought in from Houston to assist in the investigation, 2 black men, Oliver Townsend and Doc Woods, were arrested. The evidence used against the two was less than compelling. A comment someone had overheard in which Townsend had told Woods he wanted to kill Gracie Vance. In attempting to extract a confession from another suspect, a private detective agency resorted to torture and was discredited. Gasping at straws, the marshal arrested Walter Spencer, the husband of Molly Smith. I wonder if it was the Pennington Detective Agency. His trial, based on the most improbable of theories, took just 3 days and resulted in an acquittal. There can be little doubt that in the midst of all this horror, some residents of Austin took comfort in the knowledge that all the Annihilator's victims had been black and were either servants or their close relatives. All this changed on Christmas Eve when a middle-class white man, Moses Hancock, awoke to find that his wife, Sue, was missing. He soon found her lying behind their house. An axe had been used to split open her head, and a thin rod had been pushed into her brain. She had also been R-worded. The same night, the body of another white woman, Eula Phillips, was found pinned under lumber in the alleyway of one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. Her husband was found unconscious, having been hit on the back of the head with an axe. The next day, hundreds of Austin residents left their Christmas festivities to attend an emergency meeting. A variety of initiatives, from increasing lighting to early closure of taverns, were undertaken in the hopes of preventing further attacks. While the effect these moves had can be debated, the fact remains that the servant girl annihilator never struck again. Among the great mysteries surrounding the annihilator is his change in victim type. What might have caused him to switch from poor black female servants to comfortably off-white women? In 1885, some thought the answer obvious. Sue Hancock and Eula Phillips weren't victims of the annihilator, but had been killed by their own husbands. Now there's a good story. I mean, it's possible. They're like, hey, there's some guy running around killing and murdering people. Though it would appear unlikely that the two men who did not know one another would think of the same idea and act on it during the same night, both were tried for the deaths of their wives. While Hancock was declared innocent, Phillips was found guilty of murder in the second degree. The verdict was later overturned by the Texas Court of Appeals for lack of evidence. I mean, if there's a serial killer running around, that's a pretty good way to, get away with that. Alright, so on that note, boys and girls, hopefully you don't hear the dogs barking, we're going to go to our first music break. On this break, we have Mr. Jeff Hilliard from Los Angeles, California with Finger Bang Your Day, Multitude, Silicone Wave, Consensual Sex Band, and Cock That Hills. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
When your life is a never-ending train wreck, and you feel like you're drowning in a sea of regret, with a bit of oppression pressing down on your neck, it hurts so bad. When your overwhelming hatred kills your heart's desire, and reality starts looking like a dumpster fire, you start bitching to me, but you're preaching to the choir. You don't need to be so mad, 'cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world goes completely insane, open your heart, stand up and sing, I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, I'll finger bang my day. That's right. You gotta make the choice to give it all you've got, and make your day long with pleasure, really make it hot, because your day deserves a lover that pulls out the stops. Come on, it's not so hard, 'cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world blows up in our face, what else could we do but stand up and sing, I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, finger bang my day. Hey, what are we really doing? We can't live in a world that has this much hate. We have to get honest with ourselves. We have to take stock in what our part is in all of this madness. We have to let go, and we focus on giving love, setting that intention. And each and every single one of us gets up every day with the intention to give love. And we do it. We go out there and we give love every single day. Each one of us gets out there and makes love to our day, giving our day a multiple orgasm. The whole world will be orgasmic for the rest of eternity. Sometimes we hurt, sometimes I got molar moves, got that molar too. You think it's wrong? I could've had too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, never gonna cut it. All these hookers sweet on me. Look at them chasing me, showing me that ass. And I bang up the snatch. I do this shit for free. Go down your mom till 3. She's taking selfies with the mullet like it's history. How can I maneuver you with that pussy, dude? You sit like Buddha waiting on it to come to you. My lines are straight to the point. She shows me gratitude. So what's your latitude? Let's adjust your attitude. Hit up with a alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Hit up with a alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head, I'm living cut it. Alligator, double dually Lamborghini. All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini. You're like the butt of a butter knife cutting up panini. So climb back in your kangaroo pouch like a rolling genie. These moves are hot, these locks I got. This power cannot be disputed and it can't be bought. So you can find me in the studio with all these thoughts. You wanna buy my style, but you can't be what you're not, neighbor. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, you're gonna cut it. Got that motherfucking molar. You wanna touch it?
Yeah. Next time you come around here with your bitch ass, just remember how my mullet makes your hose pussy drip, drip, drip.
I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, never gonna cut it. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, never gonna cut it. Never gonna cut it. Never gonna cut it. I just got a package. I can't wait to get home. I spent all day tracking the shipment of my phone. All that she was lacking, I ordered custom. I can't wait to get some. Take it to the bedroom. Bitches always nagging. Now I got the air. I send this bitches packing, going my way. I have a new attraction. Don't care what you say, it's better in every way. Now baby, it's time to play. We're gonna make us a tape and show everyone the way. Cause I'm going my own way, riding up the Silicon Way. I wanna see on the game with my new real dog. I'm gonna play. Just second way to Mount Silicon Way. She is here to stay. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play. She don't need expensive date nights. Never talks back, I'm always right. Stuff it in her face with all my might. She don't even care, we don't ever fight. She never cries when I'm testing the suspension. We blow it up like it's fucking Armageddon. We make the videos because this is perfection. Look at this erection. I don't need protection, cause I'm going my own way, riding up the Silicon Way. I wanna see on the game with my new real dog. I'm gonna play. Just second way to Mount Silicon Way. She is here to stay. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play.
moi.
Fais-moi à moi.
Je suis amoureux.
Je pense toujours à
Enchanté,
tous les champs.
ma chérie, mon
Tous les
petit
champs.
Rosnesti.
Tous
Easy Titchy, le nipple.
les champs. Fais-moi
Like living on a super yacht, making love to a robot. It's like owning a football team, but having sex with a robot. It's like winning an Oscar and Emmy or Grammy when you're fucking a robot. It's like saving a family with a newborn from a fire, but you're fucking a robot. I'm telling my whole brain that it's not silicone wave. I see on the cave with my new real tone on the play. Just second brain to my silicone maid. She is here to stay. She's my new real tone and it's time to play. Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Let me take you far away from all this huff and puff. There will be nothing in between our love, like a pair of doves flying high above, where nothing can touch us. Touching softly. Don't let me go, I won't let you go. This is eternity with me, baby. Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? You don't have to be alone. Come with me. Magic, healthy laughter, boundaries, space, ongoing mutual consent, passion, happily we'll be bearing our souls, naked by the sea. We'll breathe the clean air. We'll be living, laughing, loving forever. Baby, do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? You don't have to be alone anymore. We will be together forever in love. Do you wanna go for a ride? Do you wanna go in my consensual? Let's go. Let's go. Just get in the van.
You're desperate and pathetic. Nothing but a coward. You're a fool with nothing to offer. No one will ever believe you. They see you for what you are. You're just a fraud, a shell of a person. And now the power and spirit of hatred and demons that love you. They enslave you into the nightmares of hate. I am the Juggernaut.
But I wasn't, but I thought I was. Welcome back, everybody, over on eTalk Radio, KBNL Radio, wherever you're listening. Jack the Ripper. His crimes have been investigated more than those of any other murderer. The whole field of study, Ripperology, is devoted to puzzling out his identity. And yet, 12 decades after his last murder, Jack the Ripper remains an elusive and mysterious figure. Even the number and names of the victims have been the subject of considerable debate. Though the majority of Ripperologists believe there have been 5 victims, the first being Marianne Nichols, a 43-year-old alcoholic. She had much in common with the victims who would follow in her wake. Nichols was estranged from her husband and struggled to support herself through a variety of means. Indeed, at least 4 of the 5 women had been pushed further into poverty through the disintegration of their respective marriages. I'm just looking at everything, making sure I'm on. Alright, we're on. We're good. Let me see how loud this music is over here. It's a little loud. Let's turn it down a smidge. There we go. Nichols had been employed in workhouses, had worked as a domestic, and had, on at least one occasion, resorted to stealing. She also tried to make ends meet as a prostitute, an occupation which, it seems, made her a target of the Ripper. Her body was discovered by 2 workmen in the early hours of the 31st August 1882, on a back street not far from the London hospital. So this is a portrayal of Jack the Ripper as a toff in the film From Hell, may not come anywhere near the truth about who Jack the Ripper really was. It is now unlikely that anyone will ever prove beyond doubt who the killer was. Okay, so he was a dirty, dirty man. Bad Jack. Nichols had had her throat cut. She had been stabbed repeatedly in the stomach and her abdomen had been cut open. 8 days later, the Ripper claimed his second victim, a 47-year-old named Annie Chapman. Her body was found at about 6 in the morning. Like Nichols, Chapman's throat had been slashed, completely disemboweled, her intestines were thrown over one shoulder. Her uterus had been removed and was never found. Ew, what did he do with it? It's gross. Get a new hobby. At approximately 1 o'clock in the morning of 30th of September, the body of Elizabeth Stride, a 45-year-old Swedish immigrant, was found. She, too, had had her throat slit open. However, apart from an inquiry to her ear, Stride's body bore none of the butchery suffered by the previous victims. It is generally believed that the Ripper was interrupted before he could proceed any further. Presumably dissatisfied with having had to leave his work on Stride's body unfinished, the Ripper struck again on the same evening. The second victim, 46-year-old Catherine Eddowes, had been picked up for public drunkenness the previous day by the Metropolitan Police. She was released at about the same time that Stride's body was discovered. Eddowes was last seen alive at approximately 1:30, talking to an unidentified man. Just 15 minutes later, her body was discovered. Working with great speed, the Ripper had cut her throat, sliced open her abdomen, thrown her intestines over her shoulder, and removed her uterus and left kidney. He had also mutilated her face. Oh my goodness, this picture is pretty gory. I don't know if I should show you, but this is the body of Mary Kelly, which was found in a sordid room at 13 Miller's Court in the East End of London. She was found naked on a bed, her throat cut, her face mutilated, and her abdomen sliced open. Ew. Like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? This guy's got issues, tell you what. And it reminds me of the Black Dahlia, which makes me wonder, did Jack the Ripper come to the United States like this one fellow had said, and continued on with his stuff? Like, maybe the Black Dahlia was like his piece de resistance, like his favorite killing, therefore? I don't know. Yes, BTK was super scary, and I'm sure he's going to be in this book because look how much more we have to go. We've only covered this much, and we got this much more to go, so I'm pretty sure BTK Killer will be in there. I want to watch your blood. I want to suck your blood. Following a relatively long period of inactivity, the final murder took place on 9 November. It is tempting to say that Mary Kelly was quite different from the other victims. She was, for example, at least 2 decades younger than the others. However, very little is known about Kelly, and, as a result, many fanciful stories have been created about her life. In death, she stands apart from the others in that she was not killed in a public place, but in her own home. This gave the Ripper a great deal more time than he'd had with his previous victims, and it showed. Kelly's body was found naked, lying on her bed. The throat had been slashed and her face mutilated. The entire abdominal cavity had been emptied of its contents. Her breasts had been cut off. One had been placed under her head and the other by her right foot. I wonder why. Her liver was found between her feet. Some of the flesh removed from the abdomen and thighs had been placed on a table. Her heart was never found. And I also wonder, like, was this guy a cannibal? Was this, like, one of the people that inspired Hannibal Lecter? Though the number of victims claimed by Jack the Ripper pales when compared to those of Mary Ann Cotton, he has become a legend in a way she has not. While the butchery that accompanied his murders provides something of an explanation for his discrepancy, the role of the media cannot be ignored. Jack the Ripper killed at a time when inexpensive mass circulation newspapers were in their ascendancy. News of the crimes spread rapidly through Great Britain and elsewhere. Some papers sought to exploit the crimes by reporting other murders as the work of Jack the Ripper. There is even a debate among other murders as the work of Jack the Ripper. There is even a debate among Ripperologists as to the validity of the Jack the Ripper name, first used in a letter dated 25 September 1888, which has received by the Central News Agency. Some have argued that it was a hoax created to sell newspapers. Shortly after its publication, the Metropolitan Police were inundated with hundreds of letters bearing the epithet. There were, of course, other factors which made the case of Jack the Ripper intriguing. His savagery appeared to escalate, reaching a crescendo with the murder of Mary Kelly. He appeared to have some education in surgery, most evident in his ability to eviscerate Catherine Eddowes in a matter of mere minutes. Above all, he was never caught, hence the speculation which continues to this day as to his identity. Like, who the heck was this guy? Police officials at the time named 6 suspects as possibly being Jack the Ripper. The most interesting of these is Montague John Druitt, a barrister and assistant schoolmaster. Druitt committed suicide by drowning shortly after the murder of Mary Kelly. A coroner's jury concluded that he had been of unsound mind. Much of the contemporary interest in Druitt rests on statements that investigators had private information, which led some to conclude that he was moited. Here there's a picture that says, among the suspects is Prince Albert Victor. One theory has it that he suffered from syphilis and was driven insane by the disease. That stuff's nasty. If you're gonna play in the rain, boys, wear your raincoats. Among the most cited suspects is Prince Albert Victor, grandson of Queen Victoria. One theory has it that the prince suffered from syphilis and was driven insane by the disease, but this is countered by royal records which show him to have been away from London on the dates when each of the murders were committed. Well, isn't that convenient? There are other theories which place the prince in a supporting role, most notably as the father of a child placed under the care of Mary Kelly. According to the most common version of this theory, Kelly was one of several women murdered by the physician Sir William Gould in an effort to suppress a scandal that would have jeopardized the future of the monarchy. Some Ripperologists suspect Joseph Barnett, once the live-in lover of Mary Kelly, the Ripper's last victim. The thinking in this theory goes that Barnett committed the first 4 murders as a way of scaring Kelly into giving up prostituting herself to other men. When this proved ineffective, he flew into a rage and murdered his girlfriend. Thus, Barnett's link with Kelly would explain why the Ripper ceased killing after he murdered. And that was after her murder. Among the more fanciful theories is one claiming that Charles Dodgson, better known as Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, confessed his crimes through a series of anagrams found throughout his work. So, Julie just got a hold of me again as far as, yeah, I'm telling you, Adrian, moited. She was moited. But yeah, Julia just messaged me. I almost said wrote me, but she messaged me and told me everything went great and she has a video and she's going to edit it and then share it, and so I can't wait to see it. I'm sad that I missed it, but you know, maybe February the 18th, which they're calling this event the Backside of Oz. But yeah, that just reminded me again of, the Mad Hatter. Dr. Thomas Neil Crean. Dr. Thomas Neil Crean is thought to have been responsible for the deaths of at least 8 women and 1 man. Yet it is for something that may have happened during his last second of life that he is best remembered. Sentenced to hang for the murder of a 27-year-old prostitute on 16 November 1892, Cream stood silent and calm at the gallows at Newgate Prison. Then quite suddenly he is said to have uttered, "I am Jack." His final words were cut short when the trap door opened and the hangman's noose broke his neck. To some, Cream's statement was a confession that he was the murderer known as Jack the Ripper. Cream's journey to justice appears long, twisted, and peculiar, even when compared to those of other serial killers. He was born in Glasgow on 27 May 1850, the eldest of 8 children. See, I thought me having like 4 other siblings was a lot, but that's a lot. And then my mom had even more siblings. Like, I think my grandma had like 13 kids. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. 4 is enough for me. I'm good on that. 4 years later, the growing family migrated to Wolf's Cove, a small community not far from Quebec City, Canada. There, his father, William Cream, worked at a shipbuilding and lumber company before establishing the Cream Lumber Mill. As the years passed, all the Cream boys would work in the mill, but Thomas was different from his brothers. Like that one elf, he didn't want to be a dentist. Or, a miller. A handsome young man more interested in books than business, he left the mill in September 1872, enrolling in medicine at Montreal's McGill University. Montreal was then the largest, wealthiest, and most powerful city in the country. McGill held a position of symbolist statue within the world of academe. It was considered Canada's foremost institution of learning, with a faculty of medicine that ranked among the most respected in North America. A studious, if unexceptional student, within 4 years, Cream graduated with a degree in medicine from McGill. To his convocation, he sat and listened as the dean delivered an address entitled "The Evils of Malpractice in the Medical Profession." Immediately after the ceremony, Cream was confronted by the family of Flora Brooks, a teenage girl he had been courting. Flora had been taken ill shortly after Cream's last visit to the family's hotel in the rural Quebec town of Waterford. She was then examined by a local physician named Flan, who determined that she had recently undergone an abortion. Confronted, Flora confessed that it was Cream who had performed the surgery. Unwillingly, Cream was taken back to Waterford, where a hasty wedding ceremony was performed. Flora's honeymoon, however, was brief. She awoke the next morning to find her groom gone. Cream left nothing but a letter in which he promised to keep in touch. Oh, well, that's good on ya. The doctor made for London, England, where he registered at St. Thomas's Hospital. Cream hoped to gain the training and experience required to become a surgeon, but failed to pass the entrance requirements for the Royal College of Surgeons. He achieved greater success at the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh, where he earned a license in midwifery. Really? It had been over a year since Cream had left his bride. While he had broken his marriage vows, the doctor had kept his promise to keep in touch. More than simple letters, he had been sending Flora medicine, which she dutifully took. Oh my gosh. If my man married me and then left me and was like, "I'll be in touch," and then sent me medicine, I'd be like, yeah, forget about it. I ain't doing it. Ridiculous. After becoming ill, she was again examined by Dr. Pilon, who, upon learning of the mysterious prescription, advised her to ignore Cream's instructions. Although she rallied briefly, in August 1877, Flora Cream died of what was officially described as consumption. 1 year after the death of his wife, Cream returned to Canada. He set up practice in London, Ontario, over 700 kilometers away from Montreal. But it wasn't long before he was again involved in a scandal. In May 1879, the body of one of his patients, a waitress named Kate Gardner, was discovered in a woodshed behind the building in which he had his office. Really? Upon investigation, it was discovered that the unmarried woman had gone to the doctor in hope of obtaining an abortion. Cream stated that this was true, adding that he had refused her request. He argued that her death, the result of an overdose of chloroform, was a suicide. A subsequent inquest disproved the doctor's theory. No bottle containing the chemical was found on the scene, and Gardner's face had been badly scratched, indicating a struggle. Although there appeared to be no evidence that he had committed the crime, suspicion fell on Cream, leaving his practice in ruins. In the summer of 1879, he moved to the United States, settling in Chicago, where he was obliged to take the State Board of Health exam. The day after receiving his passing grade, Cream set up practice in an area just outside the city's red light district. As his practice focused almost exclusively on providing abortions, it was a most convenient location. Most of the illegal operations were performed in rooms rented specifically for the purpose by a series of midwives he had recruited. When one of his patients, a prostitute named Mary Ann Faulkner, died, Cream's lawyer managed to convince a jury that the good doctor had arrived on the scene in an attempt to save the victim of a botched abortion. Sure, buddy. So before I carry on, there's a picture here, and these broads, I tell you what, like, went through a lot to be beautiful back in the day. Maybelline, like, she made mascara from, like, coal and oil. And then, like, these bustiers and corsets these women, like, shove themselves into. Like, your friend's putting her foot on your back and, like, pulling these strings. It's crazy. So it says, typically, women of the time were expected to go to great lengths to please their husbands. Cream left Flora in Waterford and started sending her medicine through the post, which she dutifully took before succumbing to a mysterious illness. So, yeah, like, look at that. Like, really? Really, B? Come on. Let's not do that. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. Within months, Cream again attracted the attention of the authorities when another patient, Ellen Stack, died after being prescribed anti-pregnancy pills. What? Oh my gosh, this picture is terrible. Anyways, the medicine assumed to have been of the doctor's own design included strychnine among its ingredients. This poison also played a role in the death of his first male victim, a railway agent named Daniel Stott, with whose wife Cream was having an affair. Oops. When the husband came to suspect the infidelity, Cream added strychnine to the medicine he had prescribed for the man's epilepsy. Cream might have again escaped justice were it not for his fear that the man's death could somehow rebound on him. Intent on avoiding this possibility, he wrote a letter to the coroner in which he accused a local pharmacist of having added strychnine to Stott's medicine. However, after the railway's agent's body was exhumed and the presence of the poison discovered, it was upon Cream that suspicion fell. He fled only to be caught in the town of Belle River, Ontario, 30 kilometers within the Canadian border. So here's a picture, and I don't know who did this picture, but Thomas Cream set himself up as a backstreet abortionist in Chicago, following in the footsteps of many medical men. The illustration above shows the first successful variotomy performed in 1809. Sounds gross, and I wonder if she even made it through it. But ew-wee shame. Betrayed by Mrs. Stott, who testified against her former lover in November 1881, Cream was sentenced to life in Juliet State Penitentiary. As the years passed, his brother Daniel worked for Cream's release, a job made easier by a rather sizable inheritance left to both men upon the passing of their father. Daniel Cream used Thomas's share of the money to integrate himself with a number of senior Illinois politicians. The ploy worked, and on 21 July 1891, Cream received a pardon from the governor of Illinois, Joseph W. Pfeiffer. It was an aged, weakened Cream who traveled back to Quebec in order to collect the balance of his inheritance. In September, he set sail for Liverpool. Cream arrived in London very much a changed man from the handsome young doctor who had once walked its streets. He suffered from poor eyesight and persistent headaches, which he attempted to alleviate through the ingestion of low-grade morphine. As Thomas Neal, M.D., he passed himself off as a resident doctor from St. Thomas's, the very same hospital at which he had practiced some 14 years earlier. It was under this cover that his greatest string of murders began. The first victim was Nellie Donworth, a 19-year-old prostitute who was seen with a man matching Cream's description in the early evening of 13 October 1891. Before the night was out, she would die an agonizing death from strychnine poisoning. 7 days later, Cream poisoned another prostitute, 27-year-old Matilda Clover, using gelatin pills containing strychnine. She endured a night of great pain before dying the following morning. However, her death was not recorded as murder. Rather, her physician believed she had died from a lethal mixture of liquor and a sedative he had prescribed to help combat her alcoholism. In late 1891, Cream began a courtship with Laura Sabatini, an attractive would-be designer of dresses. Their relationship endured a 4-month separation, during which Cream was obliged to return to Canada in order to finally settle his father's estate. Whether his murder spree continued in the Dominion has always been a matter of speculation. What is known is that upon his return he attempted to poison a prostitute. Lou Harvey with claim that his gelatin pills of strychnine prevented pregnancy. However, she grew suspicious of the doctor and only pretended to take the pills. 2 other prostitutes, Alice Marsh and Emma Shribble, were less fortunate. On 11 April 1892, both suffered painful deaths in the hours after Cream left their shared flat. Hate mail. Given that his only murder conviction came after he had attempted to pin the crime on another, it seems rather extraordinary that during this time Cream embarked on a similar campaign. Shortly after the murder of Nellie Donworth, he mailed 2 pseudonymous letters in which he accused Frederick Smith of W.H. Smith and Son of the murder. During his brief return to Canada, he had printed a circular warning patrons of London's Metropole Hotel that the murderer was employed at the hotel. 4 weeks after the deaths of Marsh and murderer, or Shribble, the deputy coroner George Percival, I recognize that name, received a letter from William H. Murray, in which it was claimed that Dr. Walter Harper of St. Thomas's Hospital was responsible for the murders. That same day, Walter Harper's father, Dr. Joseph Harper, received an extortion letter in which the same claim was repeated. Detectives at Scotland Yard were quick to recognize that the same hand was behind all these documents, but were unable to determine the writer's identity. Their curiosity was raised further after 2 prominent Londoners received extortion letters in which one, M. Malone, claimed to have evidence that each had carried out the murder of Matilda Clover, the victim whose death had been ruled accidental. The beginning of the end for Cream came in April 1892 when, quite by chance, he befriended an expatriate American named John Haynes. As a former New York City detective, Haynes had taken an interest in Alice Marsh and Emma Shribble, whose murders had occurred only a few nights earlier. As he discussed the case with Cream, Haynes was taken aback by the depth of information the doctor possessed. It seemed to the former detective that the doctor knew details that had not been reported. What was more, Cream linked the murders with those of 2 other women, Matilda Clover, and Lou Harvey, whose names meant nothing to Haynes. After he had passed on this information to a friend at Scotland Yard, the body of Matilda Clover was exhumed. While they were still gathering evidence on 3 June 1892, the London Constabulary arrested Cream on suspicion of blackmail. Cream appeared to be at the inquest into Matilda Clover's death, obliged to listen to the damning testimony. Among the witnesses was Lou Harvey, who, until the moment she entered the courtroom, Cream had thought he'd killed. The inquest concluded that Cream had intentionally administered a lethal dose of strychnine to Matilda Clover. The same witnesses were called by the prosecution during the subsequent criminal trial. It's true. No one spoke in Cream's defense. It took the jury only 10 minutes to deliver their verdict. But what of Cream's final words? "I am Jack." It must be first said that there is some debate as to whether they were ever actually uttered, though his executioner, James Billington, swore it as fact. Assuming Cream did make the statement, and that what he had meant to say is, "I am Jack the Ripper," is it at all possible that the Canadian doctor was the Ripper? At first glance, the answer must be negative. During the latter half of 1888, at which time Jack the Ripper committed his murders, Cream was serving the 7th year of his life sentence at Joliet State Penitentiary across the Atlantic. It was a trial, and this trial was quick-witted. And now it's like the trial of the century. I'm Barbara Wawa, and this is 2020. So, supporters of the theory that Cream was Jack the Ripper claim that corruption was such that the doctor left the institution years before receiving his official pardon. Either way, Cream was a dirtbag from the beginning and should have never been released from prison. That's true, Adrian. I totally agree. Another more complicated story urges that Cream had a double who sat in the prison while Cream roamed the streets of London's East End. I'm sure that happened. Perhaps the best explanation for Cream's words can be found in his considerable ego. Might have been such that Cream desired to claim the most notorious crimes of the day as his own. "I am Jack the Whipper." I don't know, fellas, but it's the trial of the century. Yeah, Cream was a dirtbag, and I don't know, I kind of feel like he was doing, like, they call them alley abortions or whatever, like, he was doing these, and I think maybe the guilt kind of got to him. Like, doing things like this can actually make you go crazy. And so perhaps instead of, like, helping these women to get rid of these children, he just got rid of the women in general, which I'm not saying that's okay, but yeah, you know, if you can't make fun of yourself, like, I don't know. Joseph Vaca. Joseph Vaca murdered and mutilated a total of 11 people, more than twice the number butchered by Jack the Ripper. Yet Vaca appears condemned to spend eternity standing in the shadow of his English contemporary. Even his nickname, the French Ripper, it just doesn't have the same pull. That's right, Truzido, you have to be able to laugh at yourself, because, you know, other people are, but if you make yourself a joke, like, that's the best. You have to laugh at yourself. Why so serious, son? I'm hunting rabbits. Alright, so the French Ripper owes its existence to the Whitechapel Killer, and in his native France, he is known as Jacques le Ventre Français. Joseph Vacher explained his crimes by arguing that they were all the result of a crazed dog that had bitten him at the age of 8. His madness, he claimed, stemmed from rabies. Guess what? Mofo, you don't live long through rabies. Like, we've seen it. It's horrible. Like, I've seen cases where people got radiation poisoning and these doctors, like, kept them alive just to see how long they can keep them alive with radiation poisoning. They suffered so bad. And as well with rabies. Like, they've kept people alive with rabies as long as they can, just to see what actually happens to people with rabies, and it's horrible. Like, you try to drink water, but you can't, and that's why you get the frothy mouth. Bad case of cottonmouth, but yeah, it's not good. Joseph Vaquer, he said it was rabies. Vaquer added that medicine given to him by the village herbalist had had no effect other than to make him irritable and brutal, forever changing his character. Assuming Vaquer's account of the dog to be true, it adds to a very small body of knowledge concerning the serial killer's childhood. We do know that he was born on 16 November 1869 in Isère, a department in the Rhône-Alpes region of France. He was the last of 15 children in a family of peasant farmers. His twin brother, the 14th in the family, choked to death when he was just 1 month old. That's so sad. So, Le Journal Illustre. So, the French ripper Joseph Vaquer murdered and mutilated 11 people and put his aberration down to the fact that he was bitten by a rabid dog at the age of 8. His twin brother choked to death when he was 1 month old. But here's a cool, old copy of a newspaper. Isn't that interesting? I love history and I love, seeing old newspapers. I used to have one forever about when my mom got kidnapped when I was just a babe, and, and that story was crazy, but I think, Kool-Aid or Red Candle or something got spilled on it, so I don't have it anymore. But I need to go back to the Fayetteville Gazette and try to get another copy. So it has been put forth that at 15 years of age, Vaquer may have committed his first murder. The victim, a 10-year-old boy, was raped and killed. In 1878, Vaquer began studies with the Marist brothers, but was returned home when it was discovered that he was having sexual relations with some of his fellow students. The following year, Vaquer was convicted of having attempted to rape a young male farmhand. Yeah, she was, but she jumped out of the car. She jumped out of the car when she saw another car coming, and I think he was doing 35 miles per hour or whatever down a dirt road. So she jumped out and then rolled into the ditch, and he got out to run after her, but then got back in the car, which was her car, and left because another car was coming. But yeah, my mom went through a lot. So she was almost taken from us by a kidnapper, but then was taken from us by a drunk driver. Anyways, let's see, where were we? The following year, Vaquer was convicted of having attempted to rape a male farmhand. Whatever the sentence, it could not have been great. By the autumn, he'd found employment as a server at a brewery in Grenoble. One account says that it was during this time that Vaquer caught venereal disease from a prostitute. According to the story, the resulting infection forced the removal of a testicle. It has also been claimed that he fell in with a group of anarchists. It is an unlikely association, as in 1890, at the age of 21, Vaquer enlisted in the French army. He was sent to the ancient city of Besançon, near the border of Switzerland. There he fell in love with a young servant girl, Louise Brand, who considered him an object to be mocked. That's sad. Poor guy. Vaquer, the soldier, developed a reputation of a brutal drill master. Although made a non-commissioned officer, he came to believe that his military service was not being properly recognized, and in both protest and desperation, attempted to slit his throat. Despite the suicide attempt, he remained with the army and was again promoted. In June 1893, he proposed marriage to Louise. The offer was met with laughter. and he attempted to kill the servant girl, but his gun misfired. Before he could be apprehended, he attempted suicide by shooting himself in the head. See, this guy is not meant to die. Like, he's cut his own throat, he shot himself, and he's still alive. Although Vacker survived, the bullet remained lodged in his skull. The damage caused paralysis on the right side of his face. His right eye was also affected. It is also thought that Vacker did himself permanent brain damage, leading to headaches and overall mental instability. Vacker was committed to an asylum in Dole. There he was diagnosed as suffering from paranoia and hallucinations, and after 6 months, he was transferred to the St. Robert Asylum of Westare. On April Fool's Day, 1894, he was considered cured and was discharged. You're better now. You should just go. Homeless and lacking the faculties required for work, Vacker wandered seemingly without aim throughout the countryside of southeastern France. Witnesses described him as a filthy, deformed figure. His injured eye seemed to always be discharging pus. Ew! Owing to the paralysis of his face, he had difficulty communicating. For 3 years he drifted, begging and stealing in order to survive. He was also raping, murdering, and mutilating men and women along his path. Vacker committed nearly all his murders by first cutting the throats of his victims. Afterwards, he would slice open their torsos. Many of the Vacker's victims were shepherds and shepherdesses. Most were adolescents. His weapons were cleavers, scissors, and knives. Whatever happened to be at hand. Ew. His actions soon drew the attention of authorities, who dubbed their elusive killer L'Éventreur des Sodes, the Ripper of the Southeast. In 1895, he was almost caught when he was spotted by a gendarme walking near a recently murdered shepherd boy. When called upon to produce identification, Vacker handed over his discharge papers. The gendarme remarked that he had once served in the very same regiment. When he asked whether Vacker had seen any suspicious characters, the murderer replied that he had seen a man running across the fields about a mile away. He went that way. Go over there. Don't look here. I am not the drone you're looking for. The gentleman then set off in pursuit. Foiled again. The killing came to an end in early August 1897 when Vacker happened upon a woman outside Lyons who was gathering wood. He attacked but was immediately set upon by his intended victim's husband and sons. Vacker was arrested. If I was her, I would have beat him with a log, and one of the sharp ones too, that had been split. Like, let's see what happens. Although the authorities were convinced that Vacker was L'Éventreur des Sodes, they had neither witnesses nor evidence. The big break came from Vacker himself, who one day, without explanation, chose to confess all his crimes. He was, he argued, not responsible for his actions, owing to the dog that had given him rabies as a child. Vacker was convinced that his blood had been poisoned. It was because of this condition, Vacker claimed, that he felt an urge to drink blood from the necks of his victims. Ew. Hatred had also played a role in his moitas. Hatred brought on by those who found his disformed face unsightly. Vacker was tried with what appears to have been undue haste. He was examined by a team of doctors who determined that the memory of the accused was clear. The fact that he had fled the scene of each murder was, they claimed, an indication that he was fully cognizant of the difference between right and wrong. Among those who examined Vacker was Alexander Lacassange, a professor of forensic medicine at the Université de Lyon. He later wrote a book, Vacker, l'Éventreur et les crimes sadiques, in which he drew comparisons between the serial killer and figures like Gilles de Rais and Jack the Ripper. On 28 October 1898, after a trial which lasted 2 days, Vacker was sentenced to death. 2 months later, on New Year's Eve, he was guillotined at the Bourg-en-Bresse, not far from where he had performed his military service. Ooh, Dr. H.H. Holmes. What's up, Holmes? Well, unfortunately, we're gonna have to get to that story later. Vec, why is the vampire like... he craved blood? Like, what the heck? Like, people with rabies can't even drink water, and you're gonna drink blood? Give me a break, bro. But yes, so next week when we do story time, so we have Alan Wright on Saturday. He was nice enough to come back and continue with what we had first started, and then on the 10th we have story time. So we'll catch up with Mr. H.H. Holmes. What's up, Holmes? But otherwise, let's go on to our second music break. On this break, we have Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. I like to refer to her as like female Trent Reznor, like all the music, all the performance as far as musical instruments. Mia did it all. And she's going to be singing Lemurian Crypto, Your Skeleton, and The Bottom Line. And then we have Jeff Hilliard with Abandon, and so Mia's from Phoenix, Jeff Hilliard's from Los Angeles. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. Hey, don't go nowhere.
Left here alone, just a shadow of my erection on the wall. Why won't you answer my calls? I gave you my all with the love we made together. Oh,
nada. Because it's just a ride, and we can change it anytime we want. It's all a choice. No record, no work, no job, no savings or nothing. Just a choice right now between fear and love. Right now, between fear and love.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We're about to watch some creepy videos, so I'm burning the stage. Thanks, Truzito, for the support. I really appreciate it. I've been wondering for the last couple weeks, like, who is that on Twitch in the background? Because usually you say hello, but, yeah, like you said, you were distracted and showed a picture of a monkey. I hope that monkey was not spanked too hard. But, so as per usual for story time with me, TessaTNT, we actually do a scary video. So Adrian, hang on to your undergarments because we're about to watch a creepy one. Yeah, when you showed that picture of I was distracted and showed the monkey, I was like, ooh, what's going on over there? All right, so we're about to present this video. Share screen. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This one, this one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I had to double check, like, what's the date on this? Because I wasn't sure if I have watched this video or not. Like, the last few times I've done it, I haven't gone in immediately and erased it. So I'm like, is this one safe? But it is. So if you're ready, here we go. So this is Sir Spooks. I love his accent. It's amazing. It's amazeballs. I hope you like it too. But yes, 10 scary videos you should not watch at night. Hence the reason I'm burning some sage. It was funny earlier. We went to get some Subway. I got 2 footlongs. I tried to get the buy one, get one free, but I could only do the buy one, get one 50% off. But luckily, I had a credit of $4, so I only had to pay $10 for 2 footlongs that were about $10 each. So that was nice. It actually worked out for me. You guys ready? Get your whoopies. Get your favorite cocktail. Grab your scriptures if you need to. Here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Sir Spooks, and today we'll take a look at 10 scary videos. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more scary content. I have a goal of reaching 1 million subscribers, so it would mean a lot to me if you could help me get there. Alright, with that said, let's begin.
me.
This first video that comes to us today starts off with a chilling bang. The video in question was posted to TikTok by a user named Monikita Official on January 20th of this year, and is terrifying. At the start of the video, a woman can be seen panicking and moving around, seemingly getting scared of something that's outside. The videographer then moves a bit closer to the window and passes the camera to the panicked woman.
Look, I just see a reflection.
She films
what is
outside,
it?
and it's right then and there that we finally see what's scaring the woman so badly. Take a look.
What's a crack? Look at those glowing eyes.
Way far off in the distance, a pair of glowing red eyes can be seen staring at the TikTok user, while she continuously screams in panic and fear before the video eventually ends abruptly, leaving us all to wonder what happened to this woman and her family afterward, and whether or not she called anyone for help. It's unclear as to what was staring back at this family with those terrifying red eyes, but it's definitely creepy, and I can only hope that she at least called the police to get them to come out there and investigate the area. That is, if the clip isn't a hoax. Let me know what you guys think.
Number 9. Oh, look at the
These
poochie.
next 3 videos are all coming from a TikTok user named Skateboard Chris, who seems to be going through quite the ordeal with the paranormal. Each video documents some truly scary things, so let's dive right into the first clip. At the start of the first video, he explains that a day before, he and his cousin pulled out a Ouija board and started messing around with it. Of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, that turned out to be a gigantic mistake. At first, all seems to be okay with Chris, but then things start to pick up from there. Listen to the bizarre noises that soon follow whenever Chris sets up his camera to record.
Sound like chipmunks.
I heard it, but I didn't see it.
The dog's like, I'm sick of this ghost. I ain't even gonna give it my energy. I'm done.
I still hear it.
So it sounds like it's messing with something in the kitchen. Could be the blinds. And then I keep thinking, like, this is going to go back and forth on the ceiling, and then that tripod's going to fall over. If this is the video I saw before. But he's got several. Don't play with Ouija boards. Just because it comes from Hasbro or whoever, like...
You can hear that, can't
it's
you?
not a toy.
I can. Sound like tapping.
Get out. Did you hear that? I heard it. It said, get out. I want to put it in my other earbud.
Everybody's like, oh, it's the hutch. It's the hutch.
Oh. It's right next to the hutch. Ruh-roh.
Something that's also quite interesting to note is that one commenter wrote that he heard the words "get out" about 8 seconds after Chris said that he heard tapping noises. Listen closely.
Get out. Did you hear that?
And obviously, a tripod falls over all by itself at some point. In the second video, Chris explains that he was moseying around the kitchen because he couldn't get to sleep, so he decided that he would clean some dishes so he could have something to do. But as he's about to find out, he can't even seem to do that in peace.
That's been my life recently. I'm bored. I'm gonna go do some dishes. And then I get the late night munchies because I'm always thinking of food because I'm thinking of different recipes I'm gonna cook and I just get hungry. I need to stop it. Stop. shock. It's like our water bill. It's not due to a ghost, it's due to the bathtub spigot not turning all the way off, so it's constantly draining. Which is okay for not freezing the pipes, but otherwise, pain in the ass. Paying over $100 per month for extra water, but I guess it's better than replacing pipes. Yuck.
He also explains that a little bit before this happened, he also heard the shower in his house running downstairs for an unspecified amount of time. Whatever this ghost is, it definitely seems to like water for some odd reason. The third and final video that we'll be looking at today.
Okay, so I just had to pause it really quick, sorry guys, but I was just wondering, is it running the water because supposedly if you have like an underground channel that goes under your house or a river nearby or whatnot, and that provides electricity, aka energy, for spirits, is that why it's running the water? I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Yeah, let's see what number 3 is.
From Skateboard.
I think this is the chair one, but let's see.
Chris was seemingly filmed very late at night. At the start of the footage, we can see Chris talking to his dogs. He said he had the camera up because he was going to do a live stream, but ultimately decided not to as he was too tired. However, it's not too long later in which something very bizarre happens.
Oh, there goes the dog. The dog knows something's about to happen. There goes the other one. Those poor doggies. Like, I feel bad for him, but the dogs have it worse, really. Poor innocent little
The rest
creatures.
of the footage shows Chris trying to figure out what to do, obviously quite scared and worried. To this day, it's unclear as to what exactly Chris is dealing with, but it definitely seems quite serious. Was this really all the result of him and his cousin playing around with that Ouija board? If so, Chris is probably going to regret that decision for the rest of his life. This next video was posted to the UFO subreddit by a user known as Crew Chief, and it has been the topic of discussion online for the past few weeks since its initial upload. The upload also provided a statement alongside the video that reads, quote, "First off, I have no idea if this has been posted or debunked already, so my apologies if it has. I stumbled across this video and it said it was posted about 17 hours ago. The video was filmed somewhere in Peru. It is very interesting to say the least.
Stumbled.
The only thing that makes me wary is the lights on it. Posing to see what you guys think. Given all the crazy claims coming out of that country lately, I figured I'd add to the madness." End quote.
Every country these days, they're coming out of the woodworks. See, that's amazing. How can you fake that? It's not a drone. Not an airplane. That looks like... I would say it's a larger ship. It looks like it. I've never seen a ship like that. That's amazing.
Just by watching the video,
Wow.
it definitely seems as though there is a triangular-shaped UFO floating around in the night sky,
Kinda, it's
but then
kinda like-
again, it's hard to say for sure what this is. The lights all seem to be legit, and the way it casually hovers around in the air all seem quite characteristic of a UFO, but then again, perhaps this is really something else. As for what exactly, who knows? What do you make of this extremely creepy and weird video? Do you think that this is actual footage of a triangular-shaped UFO hovering around in the sky, or something else entirely?
I would say so. Number 7.
This next video comes to us from a TikTok account known as Voided One, and is one of the most unsettling and heart-stopping videos that you will see in quite a long time, guaranteed. A woman named Odette Morales is riding around in the irrigation river channels in their local town to relax and cool off on a hot summer day along with her friends. In the video, we can hear a crowd of fellow riders screaming with joy while riding the smooth but exciting ride. But as you will soon see, this fun boating trip soon turns into an absolute nightmare in broad daylight.
Woohoo! Whoop whoop! Oh, here it comes! Get your phalanges back in and your feet. Don't have anything in the waters, boys and girls.
Odette's ride through the water is going well when all of a sudden we can see what looks to be a man swimming or floating closer and closer to Odette's boat ride before she eventually ends the video. More than likely so startled by what she just saw that she had to stop filming.
Who knows? It's just the back of the head and the
nightgown. It is worth noting that about 5 years prior to this video's upload date, a man allegedly died in this exact same canal as a result of drowning. So it begs the question, is this the spirit of the man coming back to haunt, or maybe just to warn off other potential riders? It looks like that may be the case.
Number 6.
A TikTok user named Foul-Midden Outdoors posted a video to his account on November 6th, 2023, in which he's seen sitting in the middle of a forest and talking to the camera about a strange noise that he is hearing. He says that he was out in the forest in order to hunt some deer to provide some food for his family. All was going quite well until he heard the noise in question, which freaked him out quite a bit, and for good reason. Have a listen.
Hey guys. Well, I'm about a mile from the gifting rock right now. Starting to get dusk. It's about 35 degrees out. And I want you to listen to what I'm listening to out here. I want you to hear this. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can hear a little better. Just a minute. Like I said, I'm quite a long ways away from the gifting rock.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we hearing that out here? A mile away.
Maybe you didn't bring up enough Reese's.
A lot of people in the comments seem
Reese's
to think that
peanut
this
butter
is
cups.
the horrifying noise of Bigfoot screaming.
That's
Sadly,
what I'm
we
saying.
never once get to see exactly what is making that terrifyingly shrill sound, but it definitely doesn't sound like any human or animal we know. So what do you guys think? Is it possible that this guy was in the forest with Bigfoot himself? If that's the case, why was Bigfoot making such a horrible noise? Was he in pain or something else going on? Be sure to let me know all of your theories in the comments below.
Shiny little Matchbox cars. Number 5.
This next video comes to us from the wildly popular Ghost subreddit and was posted just a few days ago. The video in question shows what appears to be an ordinary forest at night, but in just a few moments, this seemingly innocent video turns into something sinister.
Look at that. Moving like it is. Like, what the heck? And what is that? Did you see that in that little... Yeah, what is that? Some monkeys. Oh, wow. What the heck?
The tree can be seen constantly moving by itself throughout the entire duration of the video. It doesn't appear to be a windy night or anything either. The tree just kind of moves randomly, which is obviously quite jarring. But the real terror of the video is the monkeys in the footage that don't appear to look like ordinary monkeys whatsoever.
Yeah, look
Instead,
at the
they
way that
look
one
way
walks.
too humanoid. For instance, check out this part where one of them stands upright
See?
and walks in a strange manner.
But he could be
So
looking
what
at
in the
fruit or
world could these
something.
odd little creatures be? Who knows?
I think they're monkeys.
This is
But why
easily
is
one
the
of the
tree moving
strangest
like
videos
that?
I've come across in quite some time, so I'm curious to hear if you guys can make out what's going on in the footage, and if you know what these strange monkey creatures are as well. Be sure to let me know in the comments below.
Okay, so I have to say, the monkey, when it stood up like that and was walking around like a human, I'm like, holy shnikes. But we've also seen bears do that. We've seen dogs do that. Like there's one in, I believe it's Silverton, or it could be Rico. I think it's Silverton or Uray, that walks around on its hind legs and whatever. But bears do it because they can break their front paws. Dogs do it because they know to do it. And sometimes they get busted doing it on their own because maybe they like it. But when I was watching that monkey and it's walking on its two hind legs, it looked to me like it was looking up like at fruit or something that's on the tree. And to me, like, if he was doing that the whole time, that would be extraordinary and different. But to me, it's just a monkey looking for some fruit. So yeah, the only thing that's weird to me in this video is the way the tree's moving, because none of the other trees have branches moving like that or anything, and that one just keeps coming down like there's a line tied to it or something. And what is this building that they keep going in and out of? Is this a above ground dwelling for coffins or something, or is this something else, like an old dwelling? I don't know. I need more info. Number 4.
A user named Trainslord posted the following clip to the Ghost subreddit. The uploader explains that he and his friend recorded this video a couple of years ago while they were high and never really looked at it afterward. He says that he was randomly scrolling through his photos and videos on his phone very recently and decided that he would finally watch the footage. What he saw terrified him.
The continuum of time.
Well, I know that guy wasn't a ghost, but he had a creepy ass voice. Like, what the heck? Continue on the time. What?
Did you see it? If you look just carefully enough, at around the 9-second mark, a terrifying figure can be seen peeking at the camera from behind the door.
What?
Who exactly could this be? Sadly, since the figure is only shown very briefly, it's quite difficult to make any clear features out. Let's just hope that these two friends aren't living in a house with an uninvited guest.
Number 3.
The following piece of footage was recorded on September 6, 2022 at 7:52 p.m. in Maury Point, Pacifica, California. The footage in question initially appears to be a beautiful video of the sunset,
So
but in just a few
pretty.
moments, the
I
video's
love
true
it.
unsettling nature is about to be revealed.
Oh, man. Okay, so I have another story. Sorry for pausing. Pause for the cause. Okay, so when I went on the cruise with my sister, we went to oh, sorry. I just lost my earbud. Luckily, my boobs catched it. But we were on the cruise. We just gotten out. I'm trying to remember, was it Mazatlan or was it the other place we went? One of the places was taken away because it was just too active with gang violence or whatever. Cabo San Lucas, I think it was. And we're leaving, and there's like a little island and stuff. I almost said the SH word. But as we're leaving, like there's a helicopter flying over this island, and there's this orb that's going back and forth, and there's radio towers, but this orb is going back and forth, and it's going down and around and blah, 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 and like kind of maneuvering to get away from the helicopter. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like my first out of my backyard, out of state freaking UFO sighting. It was amazing to me, and I had to point it out to different people that were sitting with us. I was like, hey, do you see that? Like, there's a UFO flying around, and there's a helicopter that's circling. And people have asked many times, why do they send helicopters to chase a UFO? Because it's way too quick. Like, the F-1 or whatever, fighter jets, that's what I saw out here last time I saw a UFO. Not just one, but two tic-tac looking UFOs. They looked pink because the sun was going down, so the clouds turned pink, so therefore the UFO turns pink because it's just like reflecting whatever color's going on. But yeah, one blinked out, the other one kept going, and then that, I want to say F-18, or I don't even know what sort of fighter jet it was, but it came flying by and went around, and when it did, the secondary UFO, like the first one was like, hey, we gotta blink out, they're coming. The other one was like, didn't care, just kept going. Then that jet flew in, then it blinked out. And then about like 2 minutes later, came back in. It was weird. But yeah, this video right here reminds me of when I saw that UFO in Mexico. News, sorry. What the hell?
Did you see that? A mysterious orb-like object can be seen floating around the sky at random before the video eventually ends, leaving us all to wonder what exactly we just saw. A lot of people theorize that the object in question is none other than a UFO, which definitely seems to be a likely explanation, but if it's not a UFO, then what could this possibly be? I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one, so be sure to let me know your thoughts.
Number 2.
This Reddit user was at home just trying to use the bathroom in peace when he got a rude awakening from beyond. Take a look at the footage and be sure to turn your volume up.
Poor doggy. He's like, what the hell going on?
Hello?
I heard a woman's voice. I tried.
Hello?
Hello?
That definitely appears to be some sort of voice that says the uploader's name, and it definitely seems as if whoever said the man's name is coming from somewhere very far away, interestingly.
I heard I tried.
The uploader also wrote, quote, "First, sorry for the mess. Second, I don't know how to make the audio clearer or turn my dog's claws on the hard floor down. So if you know how to do that, then that would be amazing." It doesn't sound like my name in the playback footage, but it sounded like my name. It took me a second to register what I heard because my fiancé was still another 20 minutes away from home. I'm 95% sure it wasn't my dogs, as you can see the one react and it doesn't sound like their whines. What do you think? End quote. If you have any theories as to what was going on in this video, please feel free to leave a comment below, because this is quite eerie indeed. I wouldn't want to hear my name called by an unknown entity next time I go to the bathroom.
That's not what I heard. I heard I tried. Number 1.
In this YouTube video posted by a channel known as Rock Line Do Not Cross on June 16th, 2012, a group of friends are driving around late at night in France. just trying to enjoy their night when they see something utterly startling. The footage initially appears to be relatively normal in nature, but that all changes within the blink of an eye. Take a look at the footage and see for yourself.
Et alors, super saxo chrono. Super saxo. Oh, le trottoir. Ça marche. Ça, c'est de la puissance. Et on va faire. Eh, mec, c'est quoi ça? Quoi? Où? Quoi? Eh, mec, c'est quoi ça? C'est quoi? Oh putain! Fais demi-tour! Mais t'es malade!
Okay, so if you're about to get married and you have second thoughts, or AKA you get cold feet, just talk to her and let her know. Don't, text break up with her or anything like that. Like, so many women have been left at the altar. Then look what happens. Boys, don't do it. Girls, you don't do it either. That's a fucking bloody bride.
C'est quoi ça? Non. Eh, mais elle est psychopathe, la gonzesse.
Seriously.
Elle était dans le virage, elle était là. Oh, mais c'est pas... Ouais, elle est dans le chemin. Vas-y, viens, on va voir. Vas-y, viens, on va voir. Vas-y.
As they drive down the road in the middle of the night, they see a woman wearing a white dress standing on the road, which causes them to get extremely scared, and they then panic. They then decide to turn the car around a moment later to see if the woman needs help, presumably. But when they turn around, they discover that the woman is no longer there and has seemingly vanished into thin air. Could this be the ghost of a woman who passed away on this very spot? Or was it a hoax?
Could be.
To this day, this odd mystery has not been solved, and it's probably never going to be solved either.
So what I'm thinking is, jaded bride, her husband didn't show up, she was left at the altar, and then she decided, I'm gonna go play in traffic. Frogger, it's fun if you know how to do it correctly, but not this way, woman.
Sometimes the most terrifying things happen when we least expect them. And that was 10 scary videos. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then subscribe for more scary content. My name is Sir Spooks, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Thank you, Sir Spooks. That was quite lovely. I like how all these guys have all their Patreon people on there. I did start a Patreon. I'm so busy, it's hard to get into things. That was very nice, Mr. Sir Spooks. Very nice indeed. I wonder... Oh, man. Yeah, there's not enough time because this video I was going to share was about vaccinations and it being 937% factor that you will have heart issues after getting the Moderna and stuff like that. So I was going to share that video by Russell Brand, but I guess I shan't. Yeah, I get the late night munchies. Like, I'll be laying there and I'll be watching my YouTube videos, minding my own business, and thinking about recipes as far as, like, what am I going to cook tomorrow? And I just get hungry. It's about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll get up and Vern will ask, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, just a case of late night munchies. Plus, I got to hit the bathroom. I got the mama bladder. Yeah, I'm so glad you joined me. I don't know, I'm sorry, we didn't get to do what I originally planned to. Me and my friend Julia, aka the founder of the Mad Hatter Project, we were supposed to do a drag show, and then Julia was going to get up and do comedy, then there was a twerk-off party, and there's so many different things laid out. If you, yes, I love to cook, and it's so good. Like, my kids love my cooking, and that's the most satisfying thing, is when my kids are like, Mom, this is so good. But yeah, I set up everything last night at 12:37 and got that ready to go today about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We decided on 5 o'clock we were going to do that. And it was a fundraiser for Christmas for like Planned Parenthood. And there's like 2 other different places that we were raising funds for. But poor Julia went and got her hair dyed, and she didn't grab her stuff before she went to her daughter's house, and then had to go back and grab her stuff. And so she was about 45 minutes late. And so we're hoping for January 18th. Hopefully we can do that. I just hate that it's not a Christmas fundraiser, because that could have been cool. But yeah, she said everything went off without a hitch as far as once she got there and everything got rolling. But yeah. And it was funny because I was thinking about doing that and looking forward to that because I wanted to be there live, but couldn't be because there's no internet. Used to be Brainstorm is the name of the internet company. They used to provide internet for like all of Main Street. Like everybody that's there gets free Wi-Fi, blah, blah, blah. But I think they quit doing that. And so yeah, I didn't have internet to broadcast it. And I was like, well, maybe I can use my hotspot, but no, like I'm trying to be a good girl and I don't need to be in a bar, but I'd love to see what's going on. I would love to see the twerk out, twerk it. Just don't break it. Yeah, that would have been super cool. But yeah, while I was thinking about that, getting back to my other thought just a minute ago, I was actually missing reading stories to you guys from this book because it's been so intriguing and so interesting. And I've heard a lot of these cases, but some of them I have not. So I'm just like, yeah, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. And make sure you like any video or any broadcast that you're watching right now. Right now, it's Mary Chavarria and then Adrian Bledsoe. And I believe those are both from Facebook. Yes, Facebook likes. And we've had people we've had them on all streams like Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. We've had people all over the place. Like, our numbers got pretty high tonight, then they went back down. Like, people don't like the music break, but I need that because I need to go hit the head and check on the kids and stuff. But super grateful you guys were here. But yeah, that's the end of the party, boys and girls. That's the end of the show. Thank you again for having patience with me and believing in me and just being here with me. Like, I really, really, really appreciate it. So thank you again for hanging out with me, spending your time with me. Whether you're distracted or not, we all got stuff going on in our lives that we have to deal with. Thank you to all of our friends on DR Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Twitch, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, wherever you're listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time. Can't wait to do it again. Next weekend we have Psychic Medium, Mr. Alan Rydon. Then we have story time with me, TessaTNT. We're going to get into some more psychopaths. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, Jim Morris was saying, real life means real horror. Hollywood can never come close. That's right, brother. That's right, Mr. Morris. I have to say it before it goes away, or else I can never say it again. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media because without you, there is no us. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Please don't work too hard. Please don't worry too much. And, hey, let's just stick together. We got to get ourselves out of this mess. For real. Until next time, mwah. See you later. Take care of my yous. Please take care of yourself. Do the best you can.